hearty welcome in the studio, Mr. Cliff Graham.
Hello.
Yeah, and a hearty welcome to you, Mr. Nick Motlong.
Hi.
And of course, a hearty welcome to Starship with Nothing Is Going to Stop Us Now. Today, a very special moment in the history of KSFM. 2018, soon to pass 2019 on the horizons. And I would say this is the first episode of a brand new life for community and community stations overall, and specifically for KSFM broadcasting here from Paris. Nick, welcome again in the studio with me and old Cliff here.
Thank you very much.
You the guest, the guest of honor or the special guest or whatever you want to call it, die baie belangrike persoon, BBP.
The VIP.
VIP, yes. The VIP.
Yes, thank you very much.
Nick, just to give everybody a little bit of a background of who you are, where you come from and what you do. Who is Nick Motlong?
Look, I've been a consultant on radio broadcasting for over 25 years now. Now we just even launched RadioTimes News, where it's a publication where we're giving broadcasters voices. You know, I've consulted for a couple of few stations to get them on air, especially dealing with the compliance, preparing for the application to get their broadcasting license as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So you in broadcasting?
Yes.
Do you have a passion for broadcasting? There's a lot of different people in broadcasting, but I think me and Cliff, we've agreed upon that in broadcasting, passion is the utmost.
Yes.
You have to have the passion.
You must have a passion, or else you're going to get bored. Because clearly, there's a lot of challenges in broadcasting, especially in South Africa. The industry, it's still young. There's still a lot of mistakes which are being done in the broadcasting. Even the regulator itself is still learning. And now to get this industry into a proper sector, we need to learn how to fix those problems. I think starting from community radio stations as well, until up to the regulator. The regulator has done many mistakes of where you're seeing the station closing down because of you don't find stations have monitoring officers or compliance officers, and you don't have someone who's actually reminding you that, look, your license is expiring. Even on the administration side, I look at the case of KSFM. Your license, when I looked at it, I see a big mistake. They didn't put a broadcasting expiring date. So technically, it was not your fault. It was not KSFM fault, but it was the regulator's fault not having that on the broadcasting license. And again, you not having a compliance officer who's supposed to come in here and remind you to saying your license is expiring in the next 6 months. You need to renew it. So clearly those things, you didn't even get them. This is where I'm saying the regulator itself has done a lot of mistakes, and they need to fix that without actually shutting down the stations.
Do you think community stations form a huge role in this? You call the medium quite young.
Yeah. Look, I think community stations is always the foundation of broadcasting. This is where all the broadcasters, they start on community radio stations. So clearly, the regulator has that responsibility of making sure that they build a very good foundation with, build good partnership with community stations.
Yeah.
You get let's say you get Mr. Maluleke somewhere, maybe in the rural areas. In that community, they don't have a radio. He applies for license. ICASA grants him a license. But he doesn't even have experience of how to run a radio station or how the regulation, or to follow the regulation. Now, ICASA, they will say, look, it's okay. There will be a monitoring officer or a compliance officer there to guide that person. But it doesn't happen. In a lot of stations, it's more than 5 years now. Some of them, they don't even meet their compliance officers. You find stations not doing AGMs, or they're doing AGMs, but they're doing it the wrong way because there's no one guiding them. And the regulator is supposed to be sending someone there and to make sure that person or get the station manager or whoever that is coordinating the whole AGM, that they follow the compliance guideline.
But so you see it as a huge problem with the regulator?
A big one. That one, it's definitely, we've got a lot of stations which are being captured. The regulator is doing nothing about it until the last minute that the stations are being off air. There's many stations which their license has expired. So you find out that some of the management are not even aware that the license has expired. But you find that the regulator, he favors certain stations, and some of the stations he doesn't favor them. Because I know the stations which are broadcasting without broadcasting license, and their license has expired. But when you tell the regulator, they're saying, well, we'll see what we do about it. The aim of this ICASA is not to close down the stations. But what happened to KSFM? Why were you not? Why were you not why were you not given solutions while you're still broadcasting?
Right.
Nick, just on that point, we're discussing, and you're saying some serious stuff. You're also making allegations direct to ICASA. Just to make another statement, you have been appointed as consultant in the KSFM Koepel Stereo ICASA matter, and also for future development. So your point of view is taken as consultant.
Yeah.
We're consulting with you, and this is your message to not only us, me and Cliff, but also to the KSFM listeners.
Yes, true. Because they didn't do me wrong. I think they did the community of KSFM wrong.
Yes.
They've actually shut you down so that the community doesn't have a voice. This is what ICASA, ICASA is not the amendment to do that. They're supposed actually to giving the community the voice, the platform. So even they know that community, there might be mistakes there and there, but it is the regulator's responsibility to make sure that they guide the station to make sure that they comply. Not to be harsh to just say your license is expired, switch off. So by doing that, you're not only shutting down the station, but you're denying that community in that area a voice, a platform.
That is exactly what happened.
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good
that's
point.
too harsh. That's too harsh what the ICASA did. Clearly, they were supposed to look at the situations and say, look, it's fine, the mistake has happened, but let's try to fix the mistakes, not to shut you down. That's not a solution. They normally go out in public and saying their aim is not to shut down the station. But what do they do with KSFM?
Nick, your suggestion is that we go on air as soon as possible because we should never have shut down.
By law, looking at your broadcasting license, it doesn't have an expiry date. So clearly meaning like your license is not expired.
Regardless of what has been published in the government gazette.
Well, they are supposed to give you in writing, but you didn't have it in writing. So clearly, I'll give you a simple example. If, let's say, I was a traffic department, I grant you a driving license. It doesn't have an expiry date. How would you know that you're supposed to go and, renew your license?
To this day, I've not received any notification that a KSFM's license
But has a compliance officer reminded you?
We never had a compliance officer.
You see? Whose fault is it now? ICASA as well. They have contributed to the problem. It's like, ICASA needs to take accountability to their mistakes, but not to punish community stations or the public.
But you also mentioned that somebody starts a community radio station in a rural area.
Yeah.
And is it an onus on the person starting the station to continuously check the website to see updates and things like that? Surely that's the compliance officer to inform you, to say this is going to happen.
ICASA doesn't publish the expiry date of community radio stations. So it is a responsibility of a compliance officer or a monitoring officer to always to remind you, because remember they have to do the report about this. Let's say KSFM, they need to come check. They get it. Annual reports that you have to submit in. When you do AGM, ICASA needs to be involved there as well. So they need to come and monitor the AGM processes as well of how you elect a board. Now, if they're not there, who are they expecting to get a report? Because you'll end up doing an AGM, you give them the report. They can come back and say, was not done in a proper way. But how can they argue that if they were not there?
Correct.
This is where I say, look, ICASA, I'm not saying I'm attacking them. They need to admit to their mistakes. They need to admit to where they failed community stations. They're changing the regulation without even consulting with stations. But they expect you to know the regulation. Even you don't even have a compliance officer, someone to bring you those documents and say, look, the regulation has changed. I was surprised when I saw this new regulation when they say, that station manager is not supposed to be a presenter on station. Then I said to them, but that's not patriotism. If you're a real soldier, or you're a good general, you go with the soldiers to war.
Exactly.
And meaning some of the stations, remember, community radio stations, we don't have experienced broadcasters. You might find the station manager, he's the one who's experienced. Now, how do you teach people yet, but you're not an example to the station?
Exactly.
You see, that's the chemistry, that's the formula that doesn't work. And ICASA actually have passed that regulation, and not even one station is listening to it, and it's like, well, they didn't consult us. Clearly, we're not going to listen to that.
Right.
It's true.
Cliff, if you listen to Nick and what he says and his views on broadcasting, this oak is living broadcasting. He's not
Totally.
administrating broadcasting.
Totally.
Yeah, compliments.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Compliments.
Yeah.
I can see the passion.
Yeah. Nick, the road ahead, KSFM. You can actually state the date. It's a day or two before Christmas 2018.
Yeah.
The Koepel Stereo has been off air for since March 2017. It's more than a year now that we've been off air, ordered so by ICASA themselves, personally visiting the station.
Yeah.
From today forward, how would you see Koepel Stereo, and also as member of the board in waiting on the one side, and then of course as consultant in this ICASA matter and other developments? But now, what would you say as consultant and as a member of the board in waiting? How should our road ahead look like?
Look, don't lose hope. You have more chances of getting the station back on air. As I said to you, this is a mistake that ICASA needs to correct.
Mm-hmm.
According to your license, when I'm looking at it, you were not supposed to stop broadcasting. Even if they have to take you to court, they were not going to win this case, because like your license doesn't, it doesn't clearly show that your license is expiring on this date. So meaning it's an indefinite license.
Exactly.
That's how it looks. But it's fine. What we're saying is that we are going to consult with the ICASA as well, but we are going strong on them and saying the station was not supposed to go on air. If this station goes on air, there's other 16 stations that's supposed to be off air. At that I know that their licenses has expired, and they haven't even renewed that license, because clearly it's true, you cannot renew what's expired. So, but I know their license, it shows where that the expiry date. But now your broadcasting license, it doesn't state or show any expiring date. So clearly, this is where ICASA failed KSFM.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're heading for elections. This community deserves to have a voice. They need to have a platform where they can be able to talk about their issues even before the elections. So clearly, I don't think ICASA will actually invite you to stop this community to have a voice. Then clearly that will be against the law.
Are you saying that we're going back on air?
You have to. To be honest with you, then you get the ICASA to take you to court. And this is evidence that you need to show. Then say, where's the expiry date? And where is the report or any letter that confirms from our compliance officer to say she remanded us to renew our license? Because clearly you didn't even have a compliance officer.
Okay, we go back on air and everything. Do you think if we resolve the issue, people can learn from this experience?
Yes. I think it's a learning process as well. ICASA is learning from this as well, because clearly, as I said to you, ICASA had challenges of people being fired, new people coming in who doesn't even understand about regulation. They'll end up doing mistakes and punishing the stations, not because of stations made that mistake. Yes, I can say we contribute a bit, but the regulator is a government. They have resources and facilities to remind us to say, your license is expiring. This is if the ICASA says they printed you a broadcasting license without expiring date, that's a serious problem that ICASA caused.
Welcome, Nick. Welcome.
Mr. Mick Matlong, Director of RadioTimes, Mr. Cliff Grain, KSFM, and myself, Saki van der Schuyf, wishing you back on air pretty soon.
Thank you very much.